Discover the incredible moment a stranger grabbed her arm. What followed changed her life forever. Jenna trudged along the bustling street, her thoughts heavy with bills and the weight of endless responsibilities. She was just that single mother, going unnoticed among the crowds. The world cared little for her struggles, and while she poured herself into 2 jobs every day, it often felt like she was working just to survive, not to live. Tonight, after waiting tables at the diner, where she'd been invisible to the patrons who only cared for their meals, she was lost in thought, the streetlights flickering overhead, but the clip-clop of her worn-out shoes echoed the rhythm of her exhaustion. Suddenly, just as she came too close to the curb, a firm grip latched onto her arm, pulling her back just as a car flew past. Her heart raced, eyes wide with panic. She looked up to see Frank, the grizzled war veteran with a familiar face in town, his own battles etched in the lines of his weathered skin. "Whoa, Jenna, you all right?" His voice carried the weight of concern. Had he been watching? Her first instinct was to brush it off. She was fine. Yet, there was a warmth in his gaze that stopped her breathless rebuttal in her throat. Over cups of lukewarm coffee in their usual corner of the diner, Frank shared stories of soldiers haunted by their pasts, of sleepless nights, and the courage to fight through the darkness. Jenna's heart tightened as he spoke. She, too, had her shadows. The grinding anxiety of poverty, the fierce love for her bright-eyed son, Noah, and the audacity to dream of more. It all surged through her like wildfire. "Sometimes, it takes a fire to see the real strength in you," he said, his eyes glinting with understanding. As Jenna listened, she felt the fog of isolation lifting. Maybe she didn't have to be invisible after all, but just as pillars of hope began to take shape, life reminded her of its cruel edges. She sat at the community center that week, anxiously flipping through documents. The scholarship she'd applied for would change everything for her and Noah, lifting them into a world where success felt reachable. Yet, the unkind words of the board members rang in her ears. Assumptions about her past weighed heavily on her heart, twisting each reason into a reminder of what she lacked. With her application on the line, she stood up to speak, and all eyes bored into her like daggers as she approached the stage. The air was thick with judgment. Would they see her? Really see her? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jenna breathed deep, her resolve growing stronger. This wasn't just about a scholarship. It was about her dignity, about Noah's future. She gathered her thoughts, sensing Frank nearby, his silent encouragement fueling her passion. Then suddenly, the doors swung open. A stranger entered the room, bringing an unsettling quiet that hung in the air, shaking all thoughts and shifting the moment in a way that left Jenna breathless. All eyes turned, and the murmurs began. Would this moment change everything? Would her story finally be heard? Jenna's heart raced as the stranger stepped into the room, their presence commanding immediate attention. The figure was tall, draped in a navy blue coat that seemed to swallow the light. As they moved through the sea of chairs, Jenna's mind was a whirlwind of questions. Who were they? Did they have the power to change her fate? The murmurs grew louder as the newcomer approached the front. Jenna could feel her palms sweating against the microphone stand. It was now or never. She had to pull herself together and present her story. But the figure paused, scanning the crowd, and Jenna felt the weight of those eyes fix upon her. Would they see the trembling woman, filled with doubt, or the determined mother who had fought through darkness? "Good evening, everyone," the stranger began, their voice strong and compelling. They introduced themselves as Mr. Harper, a philanthropist invested in changing lives through education. As they spoke about the importance of community and opportunities, Jenna was drawn in. Could this be the lifeline she had been hoping for? "Education is the foundation upon which our community builds its future," Mr. Harper continued. "But we can't build if we don't invest in those who need it the most." The tension in the room seemed to ease a little, the words working like a balm on Jenna's frayed nerves. She caught a glimpse of Frank at the back, his eyes gleaming with something between hope and pride. It bolstered her courage. As Mr. Harper continued, he shared stories of students from rough backgrounds who had risen to greatness against the odds. Each tale sparked a flicker of inspiration within her. Maybe she was just like them, trapped in her circumstances but not defined by them. Halfway through his passionate speech, Mr. Harper's gaze found Jenna's again. She felt exposed, but this time, the scrutiny didn't feel harsh, it felt empowering. It was as if he saw the brilliant potential buried beneath her everyday struggles. When he paused to ask for questions, Jenna seized the moment, lifting her voice above the crowd. What about those of us who feel trapped, who don't think we're worthy enough for a chance? The room grew silent. People turned to look at her, and Jenna felt her cheeks flush with a mixture of vulnerability and bravery. For too long, she had kept her struggles bottled up, too afraid to let them breathe in the light. Mr. Harper nodded, fully engaged. That's precisely why I'm here. We all have doubts, Jenna. But it's about recognizing that your past does not dictate your future. Every setback is just a setup for a comeback. You have to believe in your worth, as I believe in yours. As his words sunk in, a cloud of doubt she had been carrying for years began to lift. What if this was the moment she had been waiting for? A chance not just to change her life, but Noah's too? With renewed fervor, Jenna looked down at her application folder, determined to show them the fierce love she had for her son, the fire she still had to succeed. She would no longer be just a face in the crowd. The room erupted in applause as Mr. Harper concluded, but Jenna was lost in her own thoughts. What now? The world had just opened up a door she hadn't known existed. There was a chance, after all, but would she find the courage to step through it? Just as the applause faded, a ripple of commotion swept through the crowd. Someone in the back shouted, "What do you mean there's not enough funding?" Tension crackled in the air once more, and Jenna's heart clenched. Had she grasped this hope too tightly, only to have it snatched away? As she moved to take her seat, the stranger turned to her once again, a knowing glance that seemed to promise more questions than solutions. What chaos would follow this moment of hope? Jenna stood frozen in her seat, a flicker of panic sparking in her gut. The room buzzed with confusion and concern as whispers cascaded around her. Not enough funding? The words rang in her ears, a jarring reality amidst the new hope she had dared to feel just moments before. What do you mean? Mr. Harper's voice cut through the crowd. We have resources set aside for those truly in need. His confidence wavered slightly, but he quickly regained his composure. Jenna watched, her heart pounding in sync with the growing tension. She wanted to stand up, to shout that they were all in need, that hope wasn't just a currency to be traded. It's not just for students like us, someone shouted from the back. It's about the broader community. There are limits. Jenna's chest felt heavy. What if everything she had imagined was just a mirage? She needed to speak up, to understand what this meant for her and for Noah. But the fear of what she might hear gripped her tighter than any anxiety before. Mr. Harper squared his shoulders, drawing in a deep breath. We can't allow a lack of funding to silence the voices of those who need support. He scanned the crowd, and his gaze caught Jenna again, a subtle plea for her to trust this moment. She felt a small surge of encouragement. Can this really change things? She finally asked, her voice trembling slightly, but loud enough that everyone could hear. It pierced through the confusion, all eyes landing on her. Mr. Harper nodded, his expression serious. Absolutely. But I need people like you to join me. We need stories of those who have fought hard to share our call for more support. Jenna felt her pulse quicken. Maybe this was what it all boiled down to, a call to action, a chance to voice her struggles and challenge the doubt that loomed so large in her mind. Frank approached her slowly, his expression a mix of pride and concern, as if he could read her every thought. You've always had a voice, Jenna. Now is the time to use it. The thought almost paralyzed her. But what if they don't want to hear me? What if my story isn't enough? The fear slipped out before she could stop it. Frank shook his head, resolute. You've been through so much. This is about you and Noah. Your fight, your love, it matters. Determined, Jenna squared her shoulders and took a breath. She stood, clutching her folder even tighter. Then let me share it, she declared, each word stronger than the last. Let me show you that there are mothers out there, the ones who can't afford to light a path for their children. Let me tell you about my son and why this means everything to us. The room silenced, everyone fully focused now. Mr. Harper smiled, a glimmer of hope sparking in his eyes. Yes, Jenna, your story can be our rallying cry. As she stepped forward, a sudden sense of purpose washed over her. This was it. No more shame. No more hiding. Jenna was ready to unearth everything she had buried for so long. No matter the outcome, she would fight for Noah and all those like him. But just as she began to pour her heart out, the intercom crackled to life, announcing a significant funding meeting scheduled for the next morning. Jenna's stomach lurched. Was she throwing herself into a battle that might already be lost? The urgency of the moment weighed heavily on her. How could she, in just one day, find the strength to expose her truth and advocate for herself, for Noah, and for everyone who felt invisible? As Mr. Harper leaned closer, a glint of determination in his eyes, Jenna felt the urgency surge within her like fire. Would she be able to gather her thoughts and courage in time? The moment was unraveling before her, but the question lingered as she prepared to speak. Would her voice make a difference? Would it change everything? Jenna stood on the edge of composure, her heart hammering against her ribs as the murmurs in the room faded into a dull roar. She could feel the weight of every gaze on her, the pressure mounting like a heavy blanket. They were all counting on her, hoping her voice could spark a change. But what if she faltered? What if she failed them? Suddenly, there was a gentle tug on her arm. A stranger had stepped from the crowd. It was a woman with a kind face, her eyes filled with genuine concern. "You can do this," she whispered, squeezing Jenna's shoulder reassuringly. "Tell your story. It matters." The woman's presence was like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. It stripped away a layer of Jenna's fear. She took a deep breath, finding a flicker of strength within her. "Thank you," she murmured, gratitude washing over her. Then Jenna turned her focus back to the room, her thoughts crystallizing. What if my story isn't enough? Jenna found herself asking the crowd, what if it doesn't matter? A voice from the back answered, "It matters to us. We need to hear it." As more voices chimed in, supported by nods and murmurs of agreement, Jenna felt the tide of fear starting to recede. Each declaration bolstered her spirit. She looked at Mr. Harper, who waited patiently, and then at Frank, who wore an encouraging smile that melted her dread. Gathering courage like a warrior dons armor, Jenna began, "I'm a single mother. My son, Noah, is everything to me. Just like so many others in this room, I fight every day to make ends meet. I want to give him a future." Her voice quivered, but it was laced with the truth of her struggles. "I want him to have a life full of possibilities, not just survival." The room fell silent, and in that silence, Jenna painted a picture of their life: the cramped apartment they called home, the meals skipped to afford school supplies, the nights spent worrying about the future. Each word was a brushstroke on a canvas of shared experience, drawing gasps and whispers from her audience. Sometimes, she continued, her heart racing, "I feel invisible, like no one sees our fight. But I know we're not alone. There are so many mothers and families just like us. If we all speak out together." A ripple of agreement swept through the room. Jenna paused, feeling a surge of energy. "We can change the narrative. We can show them we deserve support." As she spoke, she saw heads nodding, eyes sparkling with recognition and determination. The mix of fear and hope blossomed in her chest. This was more than just her story. This was about all of them standing united. Just as she reached what felt like her breaking point, her throat hitched, and she felt tears rushing to her eyes. But she blinked them away. "I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I believe in our cause. We need funding. We need support. More importantly, we need to be seen." The energy in the room shifted. A spark ignited. Mouths that were once silent began applauding, voices rising into a chant, echoing her words back. "We need to be seen." In that moment, hope spiraled thick in the air, and Jenna knew they were building something powerful. But just as the enthusiasm peaked, the doors swung open, and a stern-looking man in a suit entered. "I'm here for the meeting about funding." His presence sucked the energy from the room. It was undeniable. Jenna's heart raced again, this time in anxiety. Could their voice shine bright enough to pierce through the barriers he represented? Would they be able to make their pleas heard just as she had? The realization struck her: the true battle was just beginning. "Are we ready?" she mouthed to the crowd, determination alive in their eyes. And in her gut, she felt it, the stirring of something significant on the horizon. Would they rise up and meet the challenge head-on? Or would fear win again? Jenna's eyes widened as the man in the suit stepped forward, his presence commanding and unsettling. The applause died down, turning into a nervous hush. She could feel her heart racing, thrumming against her chest like a drum signaling the start of battle. The man scanned the room, his expression unreadable. "I'm here as a representative of the council," he said, his voice flat and impersonal. "I want to hear what you have to say, but let us keep it concise. Time is limited." Just as he spoke, Jenna noticed the woman who had reassured her earlier. She was still by Jenna's side, her hand resting lightly on her arm, a steady support. The warmth brought Jenna back to her purpose. This wasn't just about funding. It was about the lives entwined in it. "Mr. Harrison, we've gathered here tonight because we're fighting for our families, for our futures," Jenna called out, her voice stronger now, fueled by a surge of shared conviction from the room. "We're tired of being left behind." A murmured agreement rippled through the crowd again. Harrison raised an eyebrow, taken aback by the intensity. "And what exactly do you need?" he asked, feigning neutrality, but Jenna saw the flicker of interest in his eyes. "Support," Frank called out from the back, his voice booming. "Financial help, better resources. We need opportunities for our children." "Exactly," Jenna chimed in. "It's more than just money, it's about dignity. It's about recognition. We want our voices to matter. Every single story in this room counts." Mr. Harrison shifted his stance, his posture more rigid. "You think your stories alone can drive change? This is a numbers game. You need to provide a clear case, showing how your needs align with our budget priorities." "It's not just numbers," Jenna retorted, growing more passionate with each word. "It's about families dreaming of a different tomorrow, the kids who should be worried about homework, not hunger. We're fighting for their future, not simply our own survival." The room erupted with nods and murmurs of agreement, a chorus of hope that turned into a palpable energy. But Jenna could sense Harrison's skepticism. He was still a wall to scale, even as the room came alive around him. "Understand this," she said, trying to channel her fear into conviction. "We aren't going to back down. We deserve to be seen and heard. Our stories matter." A man in the front row, old and weathered, stood up. "You tell him, Jenna. I've lived this life for years. We need change, not empty promises." His voice cracked with emotion, resonating deeply, and the crowd erupted in supportive shouts. Seeing their passion, Jenna felt the weight of possibility. But with that hope came fear. What if it wasn't enough? What if the man before her couldn't be swayed? "Mr. Harrison," she began again, lowering her voice, "if you take our stories back with you, consider them a testament to our strength. We need allies. Will you be one?" He paused, the flickering uncertainty in his eyes revealing that he was contemplating her words, the weight of responsibility settling over him. Before he could respond, Jenna felt the tension crackle like static electricity in the air. The crowd leaned in, their fate intertwined with hers. Would their vulnerability transform into strength? But just then, the emergency exit swung open, and a young girl entered, her face streaked with tears. "Mom, where are you?" she cried, a sound filled with panic that silenced the crowd. Jenna's heart dropped. The room shifted from passionate resolve to an urgent concern. Had someone else been pushed to the edge? With every eye now on the child and her mother rising abruptly from her seat, Jenna understood. This wasn't just about funding anymore. It was about lives unraveling every day, and the urgency to act was more profound than ever. As she watched the scene unfold, an unsettling thought settled in her mind. Would they be able to rally together to face the true challenges ahead, or would fear once again steal the courage from their hearts? The future felt as uncertain as ever. Would the communities rally behind them, or would they remain stagnant, fighting an uphill battle alone? The atmosphere thickened in an instant as Jenna took in the scene. The girl's urgency echoed in the anxious breaths of the crowd. The mother dashed across the room, the worry etched deep into her brow, every step a desperate plea for comfort. The noise from the gathering faded into a low murmur, replaced by the frantic thump of Jenna's heart. This was more than a community meeting now. It was a startling reminder of what was at stake. "Mom," the girl sobbed again, her voice trembling, filled with fear. The mother scooped her child into her arms and held her tightly, an instant of quiet love amidst chaos. Jenna witnessed their connection, a lifeline woven through the fabric of vulnerability. But what if that love was stripped away by the very circumstances they were fighting against? Mr. Harrison's facade cracked, just for a moment, revealing a flicker of humanity as he observed the scene. Jenna saw it. He was a man, not just a bureaucrat. But could that moment of connection translate into understanding? She heard the whispers around her, people sharing glances, feeling the weight of the girl's cry. Perhaps this could help illustrate your point, whispered the woman beside Jenna. She squeezed Jenna's arm gently, her support unwavering. You need to show him it's not just about policies, it's about human lives. Taking a breath, Jenna stepped forward. Mr. Harrison, this is what we fight for. This is what we are up against every single day. It's not just numbers, it's real families, real children. Look at her. She gestured toward the girl still clinging to her mother. How can you turn away from that? He met her gaze, his steely resolve softening just a fraction. Jenna seized the moment, feeling emboldened. We are here as a community, and these stories resonate through all of us. We need you to stand with us, to uphold our right to a future for her, for our children. Harrison hesitated, glancing at the mother and daughter. It was a pivotal moment, and the tension in the room peaked. The crowd leaned in, collectively holding their breath, the air pregnant with anticipation. Maybe I don't know everything. Harrison finally spoke, voice less rigid, more human. I can see there's more than just statistics at play. Perhaps we should consider holding another meeting, one where we can genuinely discuss your experiences and needs. A wave of relief washed over Jenna, but it was laced with caution. That's a start, but we need real action. It can't just be talk. Of course. His voice regained some authority. I'll take this back to the council, but I can't promise anything yet. However, hearing your voices tonight may spark the change we all need. A flicker of hope ignited in Jenna's heart, tempered by the understanding that this wasn't the end. Just as the crowd began to murmur positively among themselves, the girl suddenly looked up at her mother, then at Jenna with big, hopeful eyes. Are we going to be okay, miss? She asked, innocence cutting through the dark with a desperate plea. Jenna knelt down, meeting the girl's gaze. We will fight for it. Yes, we're going to be okay. We have each other, and that's a powerful thing. As the young girl's small smile broke through her tears, Jenna felt that spark of light grow. But she couldn't shake the feeling that this moment, this fragile hope, was the calm before another storm. The fight wasn't over, and uncertainties loomed ahead. Would they manage to harness this momentum and create real change, or would the next obstacle prove too great? With hearts and stories intertwined, the path ahead remained unclear, but the drive to change their circumstances had never felt more compelling. As the room buzzed with newfound determination, Jenna caught a glimpse of Mr. Harrison's contemplative expression once more. The next chapter was unfurling, and she couldn't help but wonder, would he truly become an ally against the tides of indifference, or was this a fleeting moment of understanding? The crowd's murmurs echoed softly, but Jenna's thoughts raced. She felt where this moment could lead, the energy in the room shifting towards hope, but also uncertainty. People around her exchanged glances, some nodding, others still wrestling with their concerns. Suddenly, the young girl squeezed her mother's hand tighter, eyes wide with a mixture of trust and fear. Jenna felt a new surge of responsibility tightening her chest. We must keep this going, she murmured to herself. Did you hear that? The woman beside her leaned closer, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. P.S. open to listening. But moments later, the atmosphere shifted once again. The sound of the front door swinging open caught everyone's attention. Jenna turned to see a man standing there, silhouetted against the dim light. Confusion washed over the room. This was not the council member who usually entered for these meetings. Who asked that? Someone muttered, glancing around at the crowd as they shifted their focus. Without waiting for answers, the man stepped forward, purpose etched on his brow. He locked eyes with Jenna, closing the distance between them in quick strides. It was as though he bore a message from another world, and everyone fell silent. Jenna, he called, his voice slicing through the tension. I need to talk to you. It's important. She blinked, unsure of who he was or how he knew her name. But something about him felt familiar, like a piece of a puzzle sliding into place. She could feel a mix of curiosity and alarm stirring inside her. Do I know you? She asked cautiously, her heart beating faster. Not yet, he said, hurriedly glancing back at the crowd. But I know about your fight. I know about Mr. Harrison's plans, and I think I can help. Jenna felt a flicker of apprehension mixed with intrigue. Help? How do you please? I can't explain it all right now, he pleaded, voice low and urgent. There are bigger forces at play. If you're going to make a change, you need to know the truth. Come with me. The question lingered in the air, heavy with uncertainty. Jo, the woman who had been so supportive just moments ago, looked at Jenna with growing concern. Jenna, are you sure about this? Jenna hesitated, torn between the safety of her friends and the potential for answers that could turn the tide. The crowd around them was a living tapestry of expectant faces, some hopeful, some fearful. She could sense their unease, but something deep inside pushed her toward this moment. What if this stranger held the key to everything they were struggling against? Let us hear him out, she finally said, meeting Jo's worried gaze. We can't ignore this. The man gave her a brief nod, a flicker of relief in his eyes. Thank you. You won't regret this. With one last glance at the mother and daughter, Jenna took a step forward, following the stranger into the dimly lit hallway. The air thickened around them, filled with the weight of possibilities and the dread of the unknown. As they moved away from the crowd, Jenna couldn't shake the feeling that stepping out into this mystery could bring about more than just answers. It might ignite an unexpected twist in the fight they were all so desperately engaged in. What revelations were waiting just beyond that door? Would they be the answers she sought, or would they change everything they thought they knew? The hallway felt unnaturally quiet, almost as if it was holding its breath. Jenna stepped forward, her heart pounding in rhythm with each footfall. The man led her with urgency, his grip on her arm firm but not forceful. She could hear the faint murmurs of the crowd behind them, and a part of her wanted to turn back. But standing in the shadows of uncertainty, she was ready to confront the unknown. Who are you? Jenna finally asked, breaking the silence between them. The glow from the dingy overhead light cast long shadows on his face, making it hard to decipher his expression. I'm Eli, he replied, his voice steady. And I've been watching the situation unfold. What Mr. Harrison is planning, it's bigger than even you can imagine. She nodded slowly, compelled by the seriousness in his tone. A flood of questions surged through her mind, but she tried to focus. She needed clarity. How do you know this? What do you mean bigger? Eli paused, allowing a moment for his ideas to take shape. There are forces at play, Jenna. It's not just about a community meeting or an election. This is about control over people, over resources. If he gets what he wants, it not only affects this town, but also the surrounding areas. Jenna's breath caught at the implication of his words. She'd seen the persistent encroachment of big corporations on local businesses, but to think the stakes were higher, a battle for control over her community, sent a chill down her spine. But how does this concern me? She pressed, feeling urgency rise like a wave. I'm just a person trying to make a difference. Exactly, Eli said, his eyes lighting up. Your voice is powerful, and more importantly, you have the community backing you. But they need to know the whole truth. Mr. Harrison isn't just a threat. He is part of a larger scheme, and if you don't start making strategic moves now, you could lose everything you've worked for. Jenna took a step back, the weight of his words settling heavily around her. The implications of what he said rippled in her mind. So what do we do? Eli leaned closer, urgency and intensity folding into proximity. We gather evidence. We show your community what is really going on. We need to find allies within the town council, people who are willing to take a stand. There's strength in numbers, but we won't have time to waste. It has to be done discreetly, he warned. The path ahead felt daunting, but Jenna felt a rekindling spark of determination. Okay, I'll do it. I'll rally my community, but what about you? Are you with me? Eli hesitated for a brief second, a shadow crossing his features. Yes, but there is something you should know. I'm not just an observer. My connections could put you in danger. Jenna's heart raced again, but it wasn't just fear, it was a rush of excitement. This wasn't just a conversation anymore. It was a call to action, one she couldn't turn away from. Let us bring the truth to light, she said, determination strengthening her voice. Suddenly, a muffled noise from the other end of the hallway cut through the air, footsteps, hurried and loud. Jenna's heart dropped, adrenaline surging through her veins. Someone's coming. Eli grabbed her wrist, pulling her into an alcove just as the shadows loomed closer. Their bodies pressed together, and Jenna's pulse quickened. She felt the heat of fear, mingling with the thrill of what lay ahead. Who was coming? And would they be ready for the fight ahead? As Jenna held her breath, uncertain of what they would face next, a flicker of resolve danced in her heart. They had ventured into a world of secrets and dangers. But could they outpace the darkness that was closing in fast? Jenna's heart thundered in her chest as she and Eli pressed deeper into the alcove, shadows wrapping around them like a thick fog. The footsteps grew louder, echoing against the walls, a relentless reminder of their precarious situation. She tried to discern who was coming, peering from the edge of their hiding place, straining her ears to catch any hint of conversation. "Stay quiet," Eli urged, his voice barely above a whisper, tense and alert. They clung to the edge of the wall, the old paint rough against her skin. She fought against the urge to shake, to let fear take over. Instead, she felt a flicker of resolve ignite inside her. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was about her community. As the footsteps passed, Jenna caught sight of the looming figures, two men in dark suits, their expressions severe like they were carrying the weight of secrets on their shoulders. She recognized one of them as Mr. Harrison's crony. A pit formed in her stomach, and the earlier thrill dashed against the reality of danger. These men were part of the web she desperately wanted to untangle. "Go," Eli whispered, urging her to move as the men continued down the hallway, oblivious to their presence. With a quick nod, Jenna followed Eli into the half-lit corridor. They moved silently, adrenaline fueling every step. But even as they rushed forward, questions spiraled in Jenna's mind. Who was Eli really? What kind of danger had he entangled himself in? And more importantly, what had she just signed up for? "I know where we can find the documents we need," Eli said, breaking the silence as they ducked into a nearby storage room. The door creaked but closed behind them quietly. It was cramped and dark, boxes stacked haphazardly around them. Eli's eyes flickered to hers, filled with urgency. "Once we get the truth, what do you mean documents?" Jenna interrupted, fire igniting within her. "What exactly are we looking for?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Records of the agreements Mr. Harrison has, land deals, financial backers. It's all there, hidden beneath layers of corporate bureaucracy. If we can get to it, we can expose him." It felt surreal to be standing in this shadowy room, plotting to topple an empire of lies. But Jenna's heart raced not with fear, but with the brilliance of a mission ahead of her. This was her chance to take control. "Let us go then," she said, an edge of determination creeping into her voice. Eli hesitated for a moment, as if weighing his next words, a seriousness slipping into his expression. "You need to understand, Jenna. We have to move quickly. If Harrison catches wind of what we're doing, things could get dangerous. I can't let you get hurt. Danger is already here." "We can't falter now," she interjected, surprising even herself with the conviction in her tone. "This is bigger than both of us." Eli studied her, something like admiration mixed with concern playing across his features. It sent a surge of confidence through her. "All right then, we need to stay focused. I can lead the way, but we need to be smart about it." As they crept toward the exit, the stillness of the storage room gave way to the buzz of murmured conversations. Jenna clenched her fists, feeling the weight of the mission pressing against her. They had to find the truth before it vanished into the shadows once more. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from the hallway, causing Jenna to jump. "What was that?" Eli's expression tightened. "No time to waste. We need to move, now?" They turned, rushing toward the door, the pulse of urgency thrumming in their veins. Striding into the unknown, Jenna felt both fear and excitement close in around her like a tight cloak. What would they find? As they stepped into the chaos of the hallway, a fleeting thought crossed her mind. Was she truly ready to face what lay ahead? Amidst the noise and tension, a single question hung in the air. Would they be able to expose the truth before it was too late? Jenna's heart raced as she and Eli dashed from the storeroom into the chaos. The whispers of her community behind her, their hopes riding on her shoulders, filled her with courage. She could hear the noise of shuffling footsteps and muffled voices just beyond the door. Each thud of her heart echoed the urgency of their mission. They had to keep moving. Eli glanced at her, eyes sharp with determination. Stay close, he urged, his voice barely above a whisper. They weaved through the maze of the hallway where tension hung like a thick fog. Jenna couldn't shake the thought that this wasn't just about her anymore. It was about every mother, every child, and every family intertwined in their struggle. They were all counting on her. Where to next? She asked, breath nearly hitching in her throat. She was struck by the gravity of the moment. She could feel the weight of every gaze, every expectation behind her. Eli's gaze bore into hers, filled with the unwavering resolve she now clung to. There's a back office that shouldn't be guarded, he explained quickly. It's where they store the contracts and funding agreements. If we can slip in, we can grab the documents we need. Let us go then. Determination pushed Jenna forward, a fire igniting in her belly. As they hurried through halls adorned with old photographs and peeling paint, Jenna couldn't help but wonder at the stories tied to these walls. They were her history, but now they belonged to a future that could be rewritten. Suddenly, a loud crash rattled in the distance, reverberating against the walls. Jenna's pulse quickened. What was that? She whispered, panic threading through her voice. Keep moving, Eli insisted, his urgency matching her own. They rounded a corner, skidding to a stop in front of the door to the office. Eli pressed his ear against it, listening intently to the activity on the other side. After a tense moment, he nodded, shifting the door ever so slightly. It's clear. We need to be quick. With a deep breath, they slipped inside, closing the door softly behind them. The dimly lit room was cluttered with papers, folders stacked haphazardly on a desk. Jenna felt her heart pound loudly in her ears as they entered, the urge to bolt racing alongside the adrenaline. Start searching, Eli instructed, rifling through a drawer filled with documents. Look for anything about the funding, partnerships. It could give us the leverage we need. Jenna nodded, her hands shaking slightly as she began to sift through the papers. The gravity of what they were doing filled her with excitement, but also fear. Had she truly stepped into a battle she was ready to fight? As she scanned the contents, words like suspension and reallocation jumped out at her. A sense of urgency propelled her onward, uncovering hidden documents that revealed the major funding gaps and dishonest partnerships Mr. Harrison had concealed. Here, Jenna exclaimed, her voice barely above a whisper as she held up a document. This shows their corruption, how they're prioritizing profit over people. Eli's eyes lit up. Great, grab as much as we can. They shoved papers into Jenna's bag, adrenaline pushing them further. But just as they were about to finish, the sound of footsteps echoed outside the office. The door handle rattled ominously. Hide, Eli hissed, pulling Jenna to the side, swift and silent. They crouched behind the desk, holding their breath, hearts thumping as the door creaked open. Two figures entered, voices low but firm. We need to accelerate the plans. If they find out about the funding alterations, we won't be able to hold off any potential backlash, one man said, a weighty tension in the air. Jenna's heart dropped. They were discussing her community, her people. A sense of resolve surged within her. This was it. She had to expose this to everyone. As the men talked, Jenna captured snippets of their exchanges about silencing dissenting voices, a chill sweeping through her. She felt the urgency of their mission intensify. It wasn't just about her anymore. Minutes felt like hours, but finally, the men turned to leave, the sound of their footsteps fading away. A victorious grin spread across Jenna's face. Hope had won a small victory today. Let us get out of here, Eli whispered, returning to the lidless chaos of the desk. Jenna nodded, her heart still racing, knowing they were not just allies in a moment of danger, but teammates ready to confront their shared struggle. As they slipped out of the room, Jenna felt renewed purpose wash over her. She turned back to Eli and said, we need to share this. Together, we can stand up to them. We can rally our community. Yes, he replied, a wide grin on his face. This is not just about the documents, it's about hope and unity. Let us show them what we stand for. Bursting with adrenaline, they hurried towards the main area. Jenna felt ready to fight, ready to unveil the truth buried beneath lies and corruption. As they stepped into the hustle of the community center, the murmurs of those they loved washed over her, a powerful reminder of why she was fighting. She could see familiar faces, the warmth of community pulsing around her, igniting embers of bravery that had lain dormant for too long. Everyone, Jenna shouted, commanding attention as eyes turned toward her. The energy shifted, and silence enveloped the room. We have something important to share, and it will change everything. As she relayed their discoveries, passion flooded her voice. Every word she spoke resonated, each moment pulling them closer together as a united front. The room was electric, filled with murmurs of understanding, determination, and newfound resolve. This isn't just about us anymore. It's a fight for dignity, for recognition, for hope. The audience erupted in encouragement, moms nodding, kids whispering, hands raised high with resolve. It was a movement, a moment, where hurt transformed into purpose. As the crowd rallied, fueled by truth and community, Jenna felt a tear slip down her cheek. Not from sadness, but joy, a recognition of how far they had come. They were not just struggling, they were rising. The thunderous applause filled the room. Jenna glanced at Eli, whose proud smile radiated warmth. "We can't stop now," she proclaimed, her voice ringing clear. "Tomorrow, we take this fight to the council." The crowd erupted in cheers, voices intertwined, and Jenna felt the power of unity surge through her heart. This was just the beginning, a chance to rewrite their story together, fueled by love, light, and resilience. This was their moment, and no one could take it away. Don't wait another second. This is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now if you felt the power of transformation in Jenna's journey. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation. You need to subscribe now. It's time to rise together,